Hey guys, Charl here from worshipguitarskills.com, back again with another lesson to show you how you can play more melodically on the guitar without having to rely on a bunch of boring scales. Let's go ahead and I'm going to play the example that I'm going to teach you in this video. We're going to break it down, show you exactly how I got to this example. Let's go ahead and play that right now, and afterwards we'll come and break it down. Alright, so there you go. It's a really nice, simple melody. It's all happening on one string. That's why it doesn't quite sound like scales. A lot of people make the mistake to choose a scale shape and they just kind of, meander up and down the scale shape. Instead, when you do it here on one string, focusing on the chord tones, you get a much different approach. So let's go ahead and look at what happened here. Well, in essence, there's basically four triad shapes that I'm using here to kind of guide what I want to do. The chords, of course, are E, B, C sharp minor, and A. So for E, I've got this. For B, I've got that. C sharp minor, and then A. Those are my triads. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if I were to just play one of those notes of the triad each time. So this will be for E, I'm going to play this note. For B, I'm going to play that note. For C sharp, I'm going to play this note. And for the A chord, I'm going to play this note. I'm just going to ring that one note every time. Listen to what that sounds like. Alright, that sounds pretty cool. And all it is, it's simply one note of the triad. Now, if I take these triads and I go from the note that I start to the next note within the triad, then it'll be for E, for B, for C sharp, for A, again, E, B, C sharp, A. So I'm just picking one note of the triad and then I'm going to the next note. Still not quite the line that we played in the beginning of this video. We're going to show you how to do that next. But let me go ahead and I'm going to play this again for you. But this time I'm going to use two chord tones. Alright, so that still works, but it's almost a little bit too safe because I'm just playing my safe tones. We also call those stable tones. Those are literally just picking out notes from the triad, which in essence are the chord tones. Now what I've done with this, instead of playing I did all of this on one string. Still the same notes, but on one string. Remember our triads. But all on one string. So now to make this a little bit more interesting, to get from my starting note to my ending note, I'm going to add a note in between. And the ending is simply going down instead of going up like I did the first time. So where do these passing tones come from? Well, they are simply part of this scale. For example, if this was my E triad, instead of going, I went, this is my B triad, instead of just going, I went, this is my C triad, C sharp minor. Instead of going, I went. And then A, instead of just going, I went. So can you see my starting note and my ending note, as I've taught you, remain the same. I just threw in what we call an active tone, which is a non-chord tone as a passing tone between those two chord tones. So what I'm going to do now is let me play it for you one more time with the track. I'll show you all this on one string. It's the exact same notes that we looked at from the triads, but this is all done on one string. Let's check it out one more time. Now, what's interesting about the way that I played this, it almost adds a little bit of a haunting kind of a feel to it. But instead of playing, that sounds a bit boring, right? So rhythmically, I did the same push idea that we looked at in the previous video, which you can find linked in the description. But basically, what that push means, when I go to the B, I'm going to that note an eighth note earlier. But you can see I'm going up, and then I'm just sliding down without picking it again. And the fact that I'm not picking the note, it's known as legato because I'm sliding into the next note. So it kind of has this, it goes up and it has this really nice descending motion to it because I'm not picking it very straightforward. I'm instead sliding into it. So that, I'll give you a couple of performance notes. It's pretty much the same thing, but I'm using a lot of slides to get me from one note to another. Otherwise, if I pick them all, it just sounds a little bit too basic. So for example, so I hope you can see how by taking just simple triad shapes, a very basic rhythm, and adding a little bit of phrasing and articulation through the use of these slides, you can come up with a really cool melody that you can use as an intro, as an instrumental, and an interlude, whatever the case may be. And it's going to really be, it's a sweet sounding melody that works with the chords. And when you know how to use these triads, just to basically outline those notes that you should play, you can play a melody on the spot over any progression in any key using these simple triad shapes. Now, if you enjoyed this example and you want to get access to backing tracks like this and more teaching in and around composing your own guitar parts similar to what we've done here today, check out the link in the description for our worship guitar skills practice pack. It's an awesome resource with hundreds of backing tracks similar to the one that you've just heard, composed in a modern worship guitar style across a range of different progressions, keys, and tempos, together with additional teaching like you've seen here today that is accompanied with tabbed examples. All of that, check the link in the description for the worship guitar skills practice pack. It's an awesome resource to help you internalize all of these concepts that we are teaching you right here on our YouTube channel. All right, guys, have a good one. Check out the link for all the descriptions, and then I'll see you in the next video.